What is going on, everybody? Kevin Calhoun here. Welcome to the Calhoun Show. If you're new, welcome aboard. If this is episode 113 for you, whatever number this is, nice job. Thank you. You guys are awesome. So this is a fun show. Most of it's done, which is nice for me. So on this episode of the podcast, we have the siblings Calhoun. My sister was here over the weekend, and she came over on Sunday night, and we did a little podcasting. And my brother is a follow-up to that conversation, and he came in earlier today. There's my phone. He came in earlier today and did a little 10 minutes with me. So they're really funny and a lot of fun, and I had a blast talking to my brother and sister. And I hope you guys enjoy that portion of the podcast. But we are in just the thick of the sports world right now. We are approaching the NFL draft. We are approaching the playoffs in the NBA and the NHL. We are debating the NBA's MVP. We watched the NCAA tournament end with a penalty, foul, just nonsense-filled game that North Carolina won, getting redemption for their failure to win the championship last year against Villanova. So North Carolina bounces back. And on that note, we have to congratulate a member of the Calhoun Show's listening audience, Mr. Kyle Gregoire. The only person to pick North Carolina that was left alive is the Calhoun Show's second annual bracket champion. I won it last year. KG wins it this year. My bracket sucked. Congratulations to my dad, actually came in second, and Sean McGinley coming in third place in the bracket challenge. So congrats to you three, but KG most of all. And as a part of that, I think it couldn't be any more fitting that we are at the beginning of the Red Sox season. We have to extend an official invitation. Mr. Gregoire, if you would like to make your way, I know you're not far, to the studio if you're interested in being on the show. Next week, the week after, whatever you want to do. Obviously, I know how to get in touch with you, but we will get you on the show. You are the Bracket Challenge winner. You can come on and talk about your Red Sox and what they're going to do this year. If you would like, that is the prize, and there you go. So let's see where we go from here. Now, the number one story in the world is, or in the sports world, I guess, is Tony Romo. Tony Romo has retired and is going to take Phil Simms' job at CBS alongside Jim Nantz on the number one team. He's going to be, I'm sure, at the Masters, which is on CBS this weekend. And this is all coming off the heels of last week. I spent a ton of time on this show talking about Tony Romo and where he should go and what's going to happen, what the Cowboys are going to do. And I legitimately completely glanced over and dismissed the Tony Romo broadcaster thing. In about 4 seconds, I talked about it and got rid of it as if it wasn't possible. And here we are a week later, and that's exactly what's happened. Now, there's a few different angles to this. Number one, if you're Tony Romo, this obviously was not an easy decision. This is a guy who the last time he played, he constructed and orchestrated a perfect drive and ended with a touchdown pass. And that was the last time he played. And he clearly believes that he can still play. He definitely did not close the door on playing in the NFL. So where does he go from here? He goes into a very nice gig. He gets the number one slot as an analyst on CBS. He's not going to get hit anymore. He's not going to break his collarbone doing that job. He's not going to get concussions doing that job. It makes a ton of sense for his longevity, and having this opportunity at the age that Tony Romo is, I don't blame him for taking it. However, it leaves a lot of people in a lot of different situations. If you're the Cowboys, this is perfect. This is perfect. Tony retires. He's not going to play in Houston. He's not going to play anywhere else. And he's not on your roster. He's not the backup quarterback to Dak Prescott anymore, meaning Dak is your guy unequivocally moving forward. It's Dak's job. And we knew that before, but now the cloud goes away. Now, Romo, in his statements and in the words that he has spoken since this came out, aside from putting out the tweet of himself in the CBS jacket, basically left the door wide open to playing football. And it was brought up on Twitter. I know Ian Rappaport was talking about it. A bunch of people were. What does that mean as an analyst? Because now Tony Romo, and I talked a little bit about this with my brother, so I'm not going to get too far down the production meeting thing, because that is a thing with Tony Romo now going to be meeting with coaches and players. But as far as that goes, this is something I didn't mention to Danny, which, again, you'll hear later on. With how wide open he left the door to returning to the NFL, it is really difficult to imagine being a coach or player in this league and talking to Tony Romo really openly and honestly, in my opinion, about what it is you're doing. Because this guy might be playing in 3 weeks. As far as you know, he might be playing in 3 weeks. So that part of it's really interesting. I understand why they made the move. It sucks for Phil Simms for sure. Rumors are that he might go into the studio because Tony Gonzalez is not going to be on the CBS pregame and halftime show. So it would be a nice, soft, easy landing for Phil to end up there. But overall, there's no doubt about the fact that it does suck. And to go from the number one gig to being replaced by a guy who has literally never done the job can't be easy. It can't be easy. So that's the Romo thing. We're approaching the draft. Danny and I talked a little bit of football later in the show. We will have more, I'm sure, in the weeks and months coming ahead as the NFL draft is near upon us. But we have some basketball stuff, a couple hockey things, and some cool conversations with my siblings. So without any further ado, let us get the show started the way we always do. Here we go. This is The Calhoun Show. As always, you can follow the show on Twitter, email the show, calhounshow@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. All the episodes go up in their entirety on the Calhoun Show's YouTube page. You can also listen to the podcast, obviously, with any podcast app of your choosing, iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And if you're so kind, leave us a nice little rating and review on iTunes. It helps push us to more people. So that's not the only way you can get in touch with us. You can tweet me at ShutUpCalhoun, and you can call the show's voicemail line, 860-740-2119. So we have finally reached the pinnacle of the regular seasons in hockey and basketball. And, you know, we've spent a lot of time and a lot of podcasts and a lot of shows, and everybody around the world and that is a fan of the NBA has spent a ton of time arguing about the MVP of the league. Now, it is what it is. Is it Russ? Is it not? He keeps putting up triple doubles. Harden keeps playing extremely well. Do you throw Kawhi and LeBron in there? I don't think so. But it could be there. Kawhi would be my pick behind Russ. But you can't argue against any of them. Really, you really can't. So it'll be interesting to see. But now we have to turn our attention because the MVP will sort itself out, and we don't get to vote. So arguing about it anymore is kind of futile. Maybe again next week once we have the entire body of work. But for now, there's no point. We're just wasting our own time if we do that again. So what I want to look at in the NBA is the playoff matchups now. Because now we can start to see these things taking shape. And we can really determine where we're going to be in the next week. So in the East, and I've talked about this with Dan. I've talked about it with Brett, about being the team that doesn't have to go to Cleveland. So if you can get the 3 seed right now, and you're Toronto would get Atlanta first, and then Boston second, assuming that the chalk holds. Now, the other part of that, and this is where these games get really interesting and where you can really pay attention to what teams want to do. Boston and Cleveland are currently tied at the top of the Eastern Conference. So what does that mean moving forward? Cleveland obviously has the tiebreaker. But what does Cleveland do in their next few games? Because Cleveland has had a really terrible March, and now in early April they've bounced back with 3 straight. But to close out the season, they are at Boston tonight. So you guys will know the result of that game. Huge. Then they get Atlanta, Miami, and Toronto. Not an easy schedule. By any means, not an easy schedule. Now, if you're wondering about what the Celtics have left, the Celtics obviously start with Cleveland here, and then they're going to go to Atlanta, then to Charlotte, and then they get Brooklyn and Milwaukee at home. That is a very realistic 4-1, 5-0 for Boston. It really is. 3-2, I think, at the worst. But I think that's a 4-1 or a 5-0. I don't see that for Cleveland in their remaining 5 games. Maybe because, and maybe I'm underselling what Cleveland is capable of. This is a team that just won an NBA championship. They were down 3-1. They certainly can win their last 5 games. And if they start with a win against Boston, that is a massive step in getting that 1 seed. The next question is how important is the 1 seed? I don't think it's that important. I really don't, because I don't think playing on the road scares Cleveland, and I think they've proved that in Golden State the last two seasons. They're not afraid to play on the road. I don't think that LeBron is afraid to play in Boston by any means. So that part of it will be interesting. Now, on the Western side, we know that Golden State is going to be the number 1 seed. They haven't clinched it yet, but they will with a win. San Antonio is going to be the 2. Houston's going to be the 3. And then it's a toss-up Houston or Utah and LA on who's going to get home court between those 2 teams in the 4-5. Oklahoma City, Memphis look to be locked in at the 6 and the 7. And then Portland is going to try to hold off Denver for the remaining 5 games to grab the 8 seed and get on the buzzsaw to go to Golden State. Now, with all these things said, and you can weigh all of the home court advantages and the injuries and who's in and who's out, and you can weigh all of those things. But in the end, we just all need to remember that the San Antonio Spurs exist, okay? I really don't want to lose sight of that because this is a different Spurs team now. It's not Tim Duncan's team. It's not old Tim Duncan's team. It's Kawhi Leonard's team. It's LaMarcus Aldridge's team. It's still Tony Parker's team, and it's still Manu Ginobili's team. But this is a team that now, for the first time, has won back-to-back 60 games. That's not something to sneeze at. This team has been dominant and really, really good for a really long time. 60 wins in a row. Twice in a row now. They are dangerous. They are really dangerous. The bad thing for them is that Golden State's their worst matchup. San Antonio matches up with Cleveland a little better. They don't match up with Golden State. So I guess you hope. I guess if you're Golden State, you hope someone can snipe Golden State out of the way. Durant looks like he's going to come back. Doesn't seem likely, but it'll be interesting to watch. The NHL side, the NHL approaching the playoffs. Letang is going to be out for the Penguins for the remainder of the playoffs. It looks like Malkin's going to be healthy. The Bruins clinched last night. We're going to have a couple more clinches here in the next day or two. Toronto looks like they're going to be back in the playoffs finally. And as we approach the playoffs and all of these great stories, and Connor McDavid's going to be the MVP, and all of these great things are happening, Sidney Crosby's leading the league in goals, the NHL's not going to the Olympics. Now, this is when I was planning out the show, I hadn't accounted for this, and then when it popped up this week, it really is amazing. Now, if you look into the details of all these things, and if I could recommend one article, and it's a guy I recommend all the time, Greg Wyshynski from Puck Daddy had a big piece on this when it came out. I believe it was yesterday morning, and they discussed it on MVSW, which is a podcast I've recommended to you guys before if you're a hockey fan. There's a lot of different variables here, and it's hard to decide. It's easy to blame Gary Bettman. It's also easy to blame the IOC. And you can put blame on the Players Association as well. The overwhelming story here is that the NHL continues to not know how to market. This is the world stage. This is the biggest stage the NHL is on at any point. Every 4 years, this is the biggest stage for the NHL. And they're going to pass on it. And we've talked in the last few weeks about the fact that the NHL does not know how to publicize itself. It does not know how to push the product forward. And here you go again. The NHL is going to be the league that says, we're not going to compete in the Olympics. Okay, fine. So now you have a mess because you have players like Alex Ovechkin saying, yeah, I'm going to go play. You have owners like Eugene Melnyk saying, Erik Karlsson can't go anywhere. Why would I send a guy to go help Team Sweden beat Team Canada when we're not supposed to be letting players go in the first place? This is going to be a mess. And if I had to guess, I think they work it out. Now, that seems terribly naive, even for me, because every time the NHL is a lockout, I think they're going to work it out. And then we wait 4 months and get an abbreviated season. So whatever that's worth to you, fine. But they have to work this out because this is going to be a nightmare. If players are leaving teams, are you going to penalize teams? This is something that Merrick and Wyshynski talked about. Do you penalize teams a draft pick? If Ovechkin goes to South Korea in 2018, excuse me, does Washington lose their first round pick? What are the sanctions going to be against these teams? Are there going to be any? Or is it going to be a sanction against the player? And what does the player lose in this scenario? The pay for the 3 weeks that he's gone? Sure. What about the team? If the Capitals keep playing in that time, and they are playing without Alex Ovechkin, what if Braden Holtby goes? Kuznetsov's going to go if Ovechkin goes. So there goes those two. You're going to lose Holtby. Look at the Penguins roster. Matt Murray's going to be on Team USA. Fleury won't be there. Now you don't have a goalie. Malkin, Crosby. If they bring Kessel onto Team USA, he's gone. Letang's probably gone. Like, these teams are going to have nothing left. So what does the NHL do? That's what we're just going to... we're going to have to sit here and wait and figure it out. All right, Stephanie was in here on Sunday night. Now, the beginning of me and Stephanie's thing, for some reason, got lost in the system. So, like, the first 30 seconds is gone, which is basically just me introducing my sister. So I'll do it now. Her name's Stephanie. She lives in Maryland. She works in D.C. She was home for the weekend. We were starting the podcast off talking about movies because she had told me the other night about a movie that she didn't like. So I watched it, and I liked it. And here you go. We were talking about it.
The Calhoun Show.
About how you saw the movie Ant-Man and did not particularly enjoy it.
No.
And I saw it, and I really enjoyed it. And if there's one staple with you and Danny being on the podcast, it's that you guys talk movies.
We are your movie experts.
Specifically Marvel movies.
Absolutely.
What's wrong with Ant-Man?
Paul Rudd is usually deficient, and as usual, he is deficient in Ant-Man.
I have not seen Paul Rudd be deficient in anything yet.
He peaked in the movie Clueless, and it was a real gem, a cinematic gem. And since then, he's just comedic and, quote, funny. Ugh.
I'm trying to think of Paul Rudd movies off the top of my head. He was in the one with Sean William Scott, Role Models. That was great. I Love You Man with Jason Segel was great.
Right.
Anchorman was great.
Right. So which one of these movies do you hear and you think, you know, a Jane Austen girl will really dig this?
But Paul Rudd's not like the lead in any of these movies necessarily.
No.
He's really good at Paul Rudd
charming.
things. And this is the Paul Rudd superhero.
He ruds it up for a while, and he's charming, and Michael Douglas is 1,000 years old, but it's okay. He does a pretty good job. The Thomas the Tank Engine cameo of Ant-Man is the high point of that movie for me.
I actually paused the movie. I laughed. So I have a weird fascination, and I thought about this watching this movie last night. I have a weird fascination with like childhood toys coming to life,
obviously.
be it with small soldiers.
The Indian in the cupboard.
But only like a 30-second scene when they open it and Darth Vader is alive and is stabbing other figurines. Like, I was obsessed with it. So Thomas the Tank Engine going from small. I'm watching the movie. And Thomas the Tank Engine, because we talked about it, and I wasn't planning on finishing it yesterday.
No, you weren't, yeah.
But then I remembered you were coming on the podcast, so I sat down to finish it.
You did your homework.
And when Thomas the Tank Engine got thrown up on the windowsill, I was like, oh my God, they're going to make Thomas big. And then I started going, yes, we're going to make Thomas big again.
Huge. It's going to be huge.
He's going to be huge. It's going to be fantastic. So, but no, I thought it was good, and it made the... Civil War appearance make more sense.
It totally does. And you know what? I love a good Marvel movie. It's fine. I saw Beauty and the Beast today. I'm riding that high currently, living all my princess dreams. So that movie is not something you should get in line for immediately, but it's a delight.
I was actually going to cut it short to go now, but if I shouldn't, I'll stay here.
Talked you right out of it. That's one ticket they won't have. That's a bummer.
Sitting here on a Sunday podcasting, there's a Cubs-Cardinals game on the first day of baseball.
Woohoo! Happy opening day.
I'm somehow okay without Beauty and the Beast.
You excited about opening day?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have baseball back. Baseball has 162 games, and there's a bunch of those that shouldn't be played because there's too many of them. Where
do you cut it off at the start of the season or in the middle? What do you do? Take a longer break? What happens?
No, just take like 40 games off.
Okay.
30. Like 130 games. And yeah, you cut it out at April.
Okay.
Start in May.
What about our birthdays, though?
I guess we wouldn't have baseball on them. in this scenario, has baseball been a big part of your April birthday so really. Far? For
not a lot, but there's always now that potential that I feel like you're taking away from me. The hope is gone.
I didn't realize it was so important. Never mind.
I'll be at 2 Broadway plays on my birthday.
162 is the right number.
Yeah, well, your birthday always fell right in the middle of April break.
April vacation.
Not everybody has April vacation. Did you know that? I moved out of New England and learned that there are some absolute Neanderthals who don't take that vacation.
That's crazy, although it works both ways because we have a mutual mother.
We do share a mom.
We have a mutual mother who works in a school system.
True.
And every once in a while, I usually call her on my way home from work if I'm not doing other stuff. So I call her. So this would be a month and a half ago, and it was 1:30. I got out early, and she answered the phone, and I was like, "What are you doing?" I was just gonna leave you a voicemail, say hello.
Right.
She was like, "Oh, it's February vacation." I was like, "It's what?
It's what?
It's what is this?"
What is this thing of which you speak?
February vacation. Go to work, lady. Like, I know. And she's laughing too. So, anyway, but yeah, no, February vacation.
April vacation, February vacation. But yours is always, we have 3 birthdays right in April. I don't know if your listeners know this.
Yeah, within 12 days.
Right. So it goes from the youngest to the oldest, actually. And for some inexplicable reason, only yours seemed to always fall in April vacation. We're going from the 14th, the 18th to the 26th. Just so your listeners know, mine is the 26th, and that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, well, it's technically the 25th, 26th, and 27th
Correct.
if you're a crazy person.
Right, because I follow the calendar, which states that you have the eve of a celebration, like a New Year's Eve. And you know what? It's a new year. My birth is a pretty momentous occasion. It's the most important one I've had.
Yeah.
So I have the eve, it's waxing, and then we have the high point, the apex, the day I was here, and then we have the fallout day, because no one likes to just stop a birthday hard, so I go gently into that good night.
I like it. Should we unveil, before I ask you the sports question that I have prepared?
You threatened a sports question.
It's actually probably the closest thing to your sports heart
Oh, how exciting.
that I'm going to ask you about.
So
And it's
jazzed.
like one of my biggest topics for the week that I'm thinking about. So,
All right.
but before we get to that, should we unveil my new phrase that I came up with yesterday?
I'm so ready for this to be a part of the world. I really
Guys,
am.
you're welcome in advance for this.
You're welcome.
You're welcome in advance for this. So it doesn't matter. In fact, it's certain times of year are more preferable for this, but it doesn't matter when, and that's the point. If someone does something that makes you sad. So Stephanie's telling me a story, and details not necessary for it. She's telling me a story about someone that made her annoyed. We'll go with annoyed, right? So the story that this person annoyed her about a week ago, and I said, wow, just kind of facetiously, I said, wow, this close to your birthday, because it's a month away, and the thing that annoyed her wasn't that important, so obviously it wouldn't affect her birthday. So the birthday thing doesn't really work. So any time of year that someone upsets you, just look at them and shake your head and go, this close to Christmas.
Wow. This close to Christmas.
This close to Christmas.
That's
And
incredible.
maybe we're the only 2 people that think that's funny.
But we're the only ones with the microphone, damn it.
It's fair. But we were laughing really hard about that.
You know
but
what?
yeah.
It's brilliant. And you guys are going to use it too, because you're going to find yourself on Flag Day thinking, wow, I'm really annoyed by this thing over here. And you're going to say, this close to Christmas. And the guy looking at you is going to be like, it's Flag Day. Which, by the way, if you don't know when Flag Day is, I'm sorry for your lack of
Do you know when
education.
Flag Day is?
Yeah.
When is Flag Day?
It's, no, I don't know.
You
when
don't
Flag
know
Day
when
is.
Flag Day is. You don't know when
I
Flag Day
haven't
is.
the foggiest clue. I think it's June 14th. It's a prediction. It's like a month before Bastille Day, which I know is a pretty big part of your listeners' cares. Bastille Day.
Bastille Day is a big one.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready for your sports question?
Oh, geez.
Now, your sports question, you can read the title of this article, and your question is somehow going to come out of this.
Okay. This is like tests I didn't study for,
So
which never happened
what's
to
the
me.
title of this article?
It says, quote, from the Business Insider, where all the top QB prospects are projected to go in the NFL draft.
So I'm going to ask you a question because there's a couple of names in here. Mitchell Trubisky from North Carolina is one of the names. Deshaun Watson from Clemson is one of the name. This guy, Patrick Mahomes, he's been connected. He's from Texas Tech. He's been connected to a couple of NFL teams.
Okay.
Now, there's a former quarterback from the New York Jets named Geno Smith.
Okay.
He was a starter, wasn't that good, turned into a backup. the football fans are like, we know. Stephanie doesn't because he's now a backup quarterback in the NFL.
I listen to every episode of the show.
But we don't talk. Geno Smith got punched in the face by his teammate last year.
Right.
You listen to every episode of the show.
See?
IK Inampale punched him in the face.
There you go.
You can't forget that name. So anyway, I somehow didn't. So anyway, Geno Smith.
Yes.
Was released by the Jets.
Okay.
Or his contract ran out.
Okay.
The Giants,
Yes.
our favorite team.
Absolutely.
Their backup quarterback, Ryan Nassib, his contract was up, and sneakily, he was terrible. Luckily, your boy,
Eli.
the closest thing to your sport's heart.
I believe in Eli.
Right? So
True.
now you know where we're going
I
with
do
this.
like it, yes.
Eli never gets hurt, so
No.
we never had to see how terrible Ryan Nassib really was.
Correct.
So the Giants went out and said, Geno Smith, stay in New York. You can be our backup too.
Okay.
Right? So now they have Geno Smith going to be their backup. Patrick Mahomes has been linked to a bunch of different NFL teams that could possibly draft him.
Okay.
The Giants were one of those teams.
Okay.
Geno Smith was described as Ben McAdoo, the Giants head coach, as potentially the quarterback of our future after Eli.
Okay.
Now, Eli has some really good players.
Right.
He's got Mr. Beckham. And they just went and got Brandon Marshall.
Yes,
and
I know that.
Sterling Shepard was a rookie last year. And now they have a defense which, if they re-sign Hankins, will return 11 guys.
Wow.
If that team doesn't win next year, and you have a head coach saying that the backup quarterback could be a future quarterback, and there's rookie talk for maybe the first round, which is crazy for the Giants. It's been since Eli in 2004.
Dang.
Do you, as an Eli Manning super fan, how are you feeling?
Threatened, vulnerable, cold on the inside. But I believe Eli's good.
That's what I want to hear, because I think so too.
I don't think he, honestly, this only concerns me if my guy is losing it, is falling apart. I don't think he's the reason they don't win every time.
The overwhelming feeling about this is the one word about Eli that Peyton never had, and that's been thrown about the last 2 years, is complacency.
Right.
So I think it's a push. I think it's a Eli wake up. So the question is, does he wake up Eli? Can we wake up Eli?
Well, yeah, and he usually looks kind of drowsy and droopy anyways, but that's his thing.
It's kind of a mopey dog.
He's kind of got that, what's that, hound dog kind of look. But I think, complacency maybe, but I think this is a bad take from someone who doesn't know what she's talking about, but at least he's a little bit more consistent than Peyton is. When Peyton was bad, he was...
All right, my next question's a doozy.
Oh.
Big one.
Oh, let's take a sip of decaf. Hold on, hold tight.
You might want to sit down for this one.
Oh, well, yeah, it's really weird that you make your guests stand on their tippy toes the whole time they're in the studio here.
All right. Now, I said you need to sit down because I'm going to ask you about the chair.
I sat down in the studio tonight and said, I could tell you all about the history of this chair. And weirdly, I was told, yeah, go ahead. I read a really great book recently about the history of chairs, and I've told a lot of people about it, and no one seems to...
Guys, I'm sorry about this. This is a crock. I thought you had knowledge, like my chair came from like a museum, like this specific. Oh no, somebody created the chair. I knew that.
I read a fabulous book about the history of chairs and their role in civilization and society. And your chair, for example, is a swanky office chair. So we could go two ways on this. We could talk about the fact that you have a much more comfortable chair than your guests do.
Merry Christmas to me.
We could talk about your host's skills, but we could also talk about the structure of this chair and how they came out of the ancient Egyptian and Roman chairs are all...
There's probably a tag on there that disagrees.
Well, it's armless, for example. So
it's not a good chair for a guest.
No, I mean, I feel a little rejected.
It's not a great chair. Like I probably like Brett, you, Dan.
We should pool our money together and get a better chair.
Yeah, that's actually what it should be. I was gonna say I should apologize, but in reality, you guys should actually fund a chair.
Yeah, let's make this a thing. Condi, I know you'll take the first jump on this. Let's team get a better chair. We're gonna make this happen.
All right, I have one other topic on the top of my head, and then I'm gonna ask you.
You have a hat on the top of your head, not a topic. That's ridiculous.
I can have both. In this case, I have both. And this is actually a story I told you yesterday, but it's one that needs to be shared with the world.
That's why you have a podcast, dude.
That's exactly why. And it's about one of our, you talk about listening to every episode. I don't know if he's gotten every one, but I know he's close.
Yes.
One of our mainstays on the show is doing legitimately good work in the world.
Yes.
And that
He's changing lives.
He's changing lives, and I hope he knows already that we're talking about him, because if he is,
you know what? He doesn't, because he's a humble man.
He's a humble guy. But this is something that is very near and dear to my heart, his heart, and Stephanie's heart.
So much.
One of our listeners is a school teacher.
And a ginger.
And a fellow
Like me.
like yourself. And apologies for not remembering this. I think it's 4th grade. It's somewhere in there.
As long as
Might
he
be
knows.
older. Yeah, as long as he knows which class to show up to. I guess that's the point. He's got a class full of students, none of which somehow, you mentioned this movie to me earlier, had never heard of the movie Remember the Titans.
Oh, it hurts every time you tell me there are people who haven't seen it.
Well, it's the second time, because I told you the story yesterday,
Right,
now. But yeah,
right.
I didn't have this knowledge before. I learned yesterday. So it hurts every time, though, I'm sure.
You're an ass.
So anyway, our friend, one of my best friends, Kyle McGowan, being the good teacher that he is, and honestly, I'm not mad at showing this movie in class, because there's some things to be learned from
Life
this movie.
lessons.
This is a great movie,
Right?
And that's not facetious.
No, life
great
lessons.
movie. And he showed it to them, and they cheered. Fake 23 with backside George reverse. Touchdown. I mean, just beautiful. So anyway,
It's gorgeous.
commending Kyle. Thank you, enlightening the youth.
I mean, you're really making a difference in the planet. You know, education's all about, like, you know, teaching the young and stuff. But really, that
made my day. It
that
really
is a
did make
lesson.
my day. If I could never be a teacher. Now, this is going to be shocking to you.
Go ahead.
I could never be a teacher.
What?
I know.
Now I'm sitting down.
Yeah, you should definitely sit down.
Are you implying
I could
to
never
me
be a
that-
teacher. However, I would like to think I could be a teacher that would definitely show Remember the Titans if kids hadn't seen it.
I can barely be a coworker to grown human beings. Could I possibly be a teacher? None of us have teacher material in us. There's none. There's 0%.
No, not a whole lot.
No,
Not a whole lot.
absolutely
All right. Are there any movies coming out soon that I need to see?
That you need to see. There's a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 coming up.
Yes. Oh, that topic. Yes, we were going to talk about this, and I forgot.
You expose the mechanisms like that.
I don't do. Yeah, of course. We always. Yeah, we don't do that. We don't do it. Well,
pull it back.
You literally just said Guardians of the Galaxy to remind me.
I did.
So
I
that's
wanted
why
to
I'm
be
going to go
cool.
into it. No, we don't do that. No, we're not doing that. I had something in my head and I forgot about it. So Stephanie and I were talking before we started about.
We do that. Sometimes we talk not on the air. we try
most
to
of the time.
Most of the
Thank
time.
God,
It would
because
be- we have a really
that would
bad
either be too much
relationship.
you on the podcast or too little us talking.
Really
There would be
quick.
no in between.
There is no in between.
There would be no in between. We were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy because you guys did watch it yesterday, and about how good the soundtrack is.
So good.
And the initial movie I thought of was Pulp Fiction for my favorite movie soundtrack.
It's a great movie soundtrack as well.
And we were curious because we pulled up the Rolling Stone list, and at least from my perspective, like their list has a bunch of movies I've never seen on it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of maybe not like a top 20 movie all time with a good soundtrack, but
Right.
like what's a movie that kind of sucks or anything that is a good soundtrack?
Well, here's an example.
Not necessarily asking you. If you have one,
Well,
no. If you
damn
have
it,
one,
I'm
I
outta
wasn't
here.
trying to put you on this. I just said I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Well, here's the problem. So I like a movie with a soundtrack rather than a score because I want to hear music I already know.
Unless Ennio Morricone is doing the score.
Well,
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
absolutely correct.
Yes.
Wow, bold call. I
Or
mean,
John Williams.
John Williams makes movies.
I'm taking John Williams.
There
too.
are certain movies that don't require a score that
Not
they can
Danny Elfman.
support a soundtrack. Danny Elfman can go elsewhere.
Not taking Danny Elfman.
For some reason, I'm not into Danny Elfman.
By the way, why do I know? Move on.
I like a Hans Zimmer. I enjoy a good Hans Zimmer.
Who's Hans Zimmer?
Pirates is actually really catchy. I saw a Pirates trailer
Is he
today.
still doing the Pirates movies?
Dun, dun.
They're still making them.
I know. I saw a trailer for it today with Javier Bardem. His whole thing is that he always looks like he's underwater.
I don't know who that guy is either.
Yes, you do.
Who is he? What is he in?
He was in No Country for Old Men, which I never saw.
I saw that once and it was great, but it was like a movie. It was like Slumdog Millionaire. I was like,
love
oh, that
Slumdog
was.
Millionaire.
I was like, that was good.
Okay, he was
Bye.
he was the villain in Skyfall, the blonde one.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him.
By the way, somebody referenced that
I
movie.
grabbed my jaw.
I know you did.
I grabbed my jaw when I thought about it.
Somebody referenced that movie you liked the other day, the milkshake one. He drinks it up. I hate that movie.
Oh,
Agreed, Roxy.
yeah, Roxy's coughing.
Roxy just started to
There Will Be
gag
Blood.
on air because of that movie.
I like how you call There Will Be Blood the milkshake movie. And I like how I knew what you were talking about. I drink your milkshake, Eli. Drink it up.
Just taking it back to Eli. Hi, Roxy.
Roxy's awake.
Sorry.
Hi, dog. And I kicked the headphones. This thing is falling apart now.
We're a mess.
It's falling apart. All right, sister.
Yes.
What else do you have?
Well, I was just going to make a point about having too many songs in a soundtrack is a problem.
Okay, yes.
Suicide Squad did that. Suicide Squad was a bad movie anyways, shit movie anyways,
Yeah.
but it had too many songs and too many little bits of songs. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy, as Danny will point out, it was his point, but I'm taking it because he can't fight me, he's not here, was that every song exists within the context of the movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Pulp Fiction does something similar-esque. Oftentimes, she's playing a record when Girl, You Will Be a Woman. Like, she turns that music on. They've got the...
It's so good.
It's so good.
What mad respect on the Pulp Fiction knowledge, by the way.
Thank you. And when they're in the dance...
Oh, hold on. It's
Go.
David Bowie. Wait.
That one's not David Bowie.
Wait, oh, that's not the David...
No, that's Inglourious Bastards.
Well, David Bowie... David Bowie is a song in Pulp Fiction, does he not? Oh, I'm going to look.
don't know
Keep
it
going.
that
Keep
well.
going with your point, though.
Okay, David Bowie should be in all things at all times, but it exists within the context of the story. Sometimes bad soundtracks have really cool songs that don't exist within the context of the story, and that makes me frustrated. It's Neil Diamond.
That makes sense. Yeah, I guess I was thinking of Neil Diamond. What was the song? Oh, You'll Be a Woman. Okay, I was thinking of the right song.
But
just the wrong guy.
his song "Cat People Putting Out Fire Gasoline"
in the
is
theater
Inglourious
scene.
Bastards,
In the theater
is
scene.
amazing.
Revenge of the Giant Beast.
Yeah, that's
Great.
the best Tarantino movie.
Historically accurate.
Oh, absolutely. Totally. Show that to your kids, Kyle. Oh, don't do that. They're children. Oh my God, no. Terrible. So, yeah, movie soundtracks, specifically ones with pop music, into the story. There's so many.
Yeah, there's...
Sport movies use them a lot, too.
We are desperately in need of a great sports movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that we
What
can...
was the last... What comes to mind for a great sports movie?
Well, here's the problem I have with sports movies. I don't think I'm an audience member who would go see a sports movie in theaters.
I don't think many audiences are audience that go see sports movies.
Like, I
don't
feel
think
like
they make sports movies.
You see them on TNT. That's where you watch them. That's where they exist and they live in the universe.
Where do you live in the world and in the universe? Everybody else is like... TNT?
I don't get TNT.
Are you watching TNT still?
I don't get it anymore.
You're watching the NBA? Because that's all I watch TNT.
Oh, I know some people stream movies. That confuses me. I'm a Luddite, though, so it's fine. No, I used to have TNT, and that's where the movies live.
It's got a 2-dial television in our apartment.
Oh, I like my TV.
It's got to go. No one's going to come see you anymore.
I know. It's really big. I'll take a picture and send it to you. It's really big. It's scary.
I've personally witnessed Stephanie think about buying a new TV and go, no, and like be a little flustered, a little freaked out about it, and just kind of move on with her day.
In a way that I don't get flustered about a lot of things.
And I'm not talking like I can't afford it. It's like just the idea, just new things. TV, my TV, the TV, a TV. It's big and shiny, and it's so much. It's
there are
such
more
a big
screens
thing.
in this room than I have in my whole life.
Not right now.
For the record.
Right now you have a lot.
I have 2 screens at work now. It's the most stressful thing that could ever happen to me because that means there are 3 pieces of technology by me at all times.
When I first started doing the podcast, I don't think I made it more than a week without putting a second screen.
Oh, it's so much. I mean, it's handy at work, but I'm busy at work. I'm not busy in my real life. I don't use my technology outside of work.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't think they make
conversely,
sports...
with the lumberyard job I was doing,
yeah.
I
Not a lot of
never
screen
used
time.
technology.
That's probably for the best.
Back in those lovely days.
In the old wooden days.
In the old wooden days. Not a lot of technology. Well, I use my phone a lot.
That's true.
I use my phone a lot.
Intellectual stimulation has to come from somewhere.
That's exactly right. All right, I'm sure we will have you on the phone on the podcast at some point in the coming weeks because that happens typically.
Absolutely.
Once every, 7-8 weeks you have a call.
Well, it's only Sunday, so you might change your mind between now and then. But if you don't come up with something better, we can ask the people what their best soundtrack movie is or sports movie. What's the most recent one they saw that was good?
Off the top, I didn't plan on talking about that.
I know we don't plan on stuff.
But Miracle's the only one I can think of that's even like in my lifetime that was really
Didn't
really
Randy
good.
Quaid make a baseball movie recently?
Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid, right?
Randy Quaid. That's the better looking of the Quaid brothers.
That's the one. I thought he made a baseball movie. There's always. I feel like there are more baseball movies than anything else.
Yeah, because baseball's classic. It's slow.
Yep.
It's easy to get emotion from actors when they're playing.
But you're right though, because there was a real spate.
That's why golf movies. That's why there's so many golf movies and there's tennis movies.
I've legit never seen a golf movie.
Can you just watch Caddyshack just once, just to be a person?
I've seen
Just to be
Caddyshack.
okay?
That's not a golf movie. I think like The Legend of Bagger Vance is a golf
Called
movie.
Caddyshack. It's literally called Caddyshack.
But I don't. Did you know Danny told me last night he thinks he doesn't like Bill Murray? I feel like we should probably stage some sort of intervention. Maybe that's something we take off the air as a personal family issue, but
It seems more serious than on air. Actually, I think there's no place to hash it out but on air. All right.
I've seen
All right,
Caddyshack.
hold on. Podcast bonus.
Ooh, I love bonuses.
Podcast bonus. Stephanie and I are sitting here at 8:14 p.m. on Monday of this week. Or Sunday, excuse me.
9:15.
Or 9, that clock's an hour off. 9:15 p.m. They wouldn't have mattered.
You don't know.
Nobody would have known. Thanks for that. Thanks for telling everybody the
Friday
clock in my
morning.
office is wrong. It's Sunday night at 9:15 p.m. I will finish the podcast on Wednesday.
Correct.
As per usual.
I'll be back in the DC area.
Following this segment of the podcast will immediately be a segment of me talking to Danny about why he doesn't like Bill Murray.
Oh, that'll be beautiful.
It's gonna we're gonna wrap this in the next 10 seconds only so no, just kidding.
I'm gonna kick you right out
No,
just so I
as
can.
soon as this segment's over, your little intro thing he's gonna play.
The
It's gonna say
Calhoun
the
Show.
Calhoun Show, and then it's gonna go to him.
I have a question. Do
Yeah.
you want other people's voices like on voicemails and stuff instead of my voice doing drops all the time?
Yeah, voicemail. Oh, that's a wonderful idea.
Wouldn't that be awesome if other people called and left voicemails?
Yeah, call and leave voicemails with a drop for the show or a promo for the show, and I will literally play it and put it on YouTube and put it wherever you want.
Because I know that a lot of people want to call in because we have great. You have a lot of people who are super chatty about the sports and stuff, but they're reluctant to call in because they don't know what they're gonna say or they don't know. So why don't we hear if you guys can throw in a better promo than my sweet sultry tones and hear what you have.
And actually, yeah, you don't even have to use the voicemail line. If you want to make something that you want heard on the show that will be a staple on the show, if it's a nice, quick little drop that sounds cool, I'll play it every week, and we will sub Stephanie's out here and there.
Okay, whoa, now
Yeah.
I'm starting to regret.
I got 2 drops. I have the SJC drop and the Patches drop.
Oh, I listened to the show on the way when I drove yesterday on my way up here to Connecticut, and I realized as I sang along to all of Patrick's music at the beginning of the show that I have now memorized the opening theme.
I actually hum it. So look behind the curtain. I record the opening part. I hit the pause button. I drop the theme music in, and I get the levels where I want them to do. Coming out of that. Hey, thanks for listening to the Calhoun Show. You could follow the show. All that nonsense.
It's good stuff. It's quality stuff.
So, but I usually start that at the exact same point in Patty's song, and like for the first 18 seconds or whatever it is, I'm always like humming along.
That's awesome.
It's
really good. Well, that's what's cool about this because, I mean, this is a fan show for fans by fans, right? So we've got a lot of people who have contributed over time. Like,
Stay with the mic.
oh, hello.
You're drifting as the night goes on.
I know, I'm drifting far away.
You're drifting.
But you've got other people using their cool talents. Like, you've got Andrew. Well, I'm not talking to him about the medieval times thing. But you've got Andy's voice at the end of the show. You've got Patty's music. You've got other people's stuff. It's everywhere.
Sarah literally wrote half the content for the show,
Pittsburgh.
for the show last week.
Sarah, the show's best friend. It's nice that we have official people in the show world now. Like Sarah, show's best friend. Grant, hockey person.
Yes, and by the way, speaking of Sarah, I wanted to mention this too before I forget. Sarah had on the end of her email last week something basketball related. Sarah, I'm hanging on to that until I get Brett in studio because I want to talk to him about it, and it's not time sensitive. But I don't want to spoil it for anybody else. It's not time sensitive, so it's something I can talk to him about when he's in here.
Yeah,
so,
you've got official people.
Wanted to mention that because I did notice it there, and I looked into the other thing that you sent me on Twitter about that too. So. Yes, we have. I am looking at these things.
We got a tweet, you and I both, to our personal life accounts, and it was the middle of the night on Friday. It was from Sarah, and she asked, "Are you guys okay?" With legit no context whatsoever. I started Googling earthquake, fire. We don't live in the same place, so there's legit no reason we would both be in some sort of geographic danger.
Yeah.
It was about the Yukon women.
Yeah, it was about the Yukon women. I don't have the Twitter settings for my personal account alerted on my phone.
Right.
I just have the show's ones. So, so I didn't see it till the next day. I woke up and I saw it, and my only instinct was to look at my Twitter history and be like, did I not tweet for 4 days?
Like,
did we not tweet the show out? Like, what did we not do? and I didn't know until I talked to you yesterday. I was like, yeah, and Sarah tweeted us, and you were like, yeah, about the Yukon, huh? I was like, oh, that's what that was about. We're not very good Connecticut people.
Well, I mean,
we didn't know UConn lost.
I didn't watch the game. I don't watch the games most of the time. Now, I usually, by the way, I didn't get my bracket in time for the bracket show challenge, but I had Baylor winning because it reminded me of Peter Baelish. So I don't think I was really in contention, to be honest.
Probs not.
Probs for sure not. But anyways, yeah, no, sorry, I just got distracted by looking at the track list again for Pulp Fiction.
For Pulp Fiction.
I literally could feel my focus drifting and going off into a weird area.
Mine does that all the time. Whenever I do that by myself here, I'll trail off. I'll be like, yeah, so anyway, I just think with the Raiders quarterback situation after Carr went down, shit. Fuck, I'll start it again. I'm going to go back and start the track and be like, all right, wait. All right, start here.
So you're going to talk about lots of stuff this week. So you'll be good. So you put me at the end of the show, the middle of the show?
I don't know.
Yeah. Live dangerously.
You're not at the very end because Danny's coming up after this. You want to send it to that?
To Bill Murray? Yeah.
Yeah, to the Danny conversation. You can transition the show to the next segment.
All right. So, well,
just stay with the microphone, though. You're on the other side of the room again.
Sorry, I was back in Maryland. Seamlessly and beautifully without any time away from the microphone whatsoever, and no implications of pauses happening, because that would be juvenile when you have a seamless transition. Why would you need to articulate that you went away for half an hour to read an email?
Seems important. Seems like important information for people to have.
I get so mad every time. It makes me crazy. So, coming up immediately in studio right now, we have Daniel Calhoun. He's literally steps away waiting to come on the microphone.
Here he comes. Bye, sister. Later.
Laters.
Laters.
The Calhoun Show.
All right, Danny's here. Hi, Dan. Hi, Dan. So, a couple days ago, we're now Wednesday, mid-afternoon, and Danny has been summoned to the studio because some things were said about Bill Murray, and I'm just curious because you seem a little more relaxed about this than what was laid out to me by the eldest of the three of us.
Well, I don't believe she would ever over dramatize anything.
That doesn't seem like something she would do, but in this case, it might be what she has done. So do you have a problem with Bill Murray?
It's not a personal problem I have with Bill Murray. I just realized I don't like most of his movies.
Bill Murray's not really the lead in a lot of movies, though.
Yeah, I know. But I think I'm the only person who's not a huge fan of the original Ghostbusters.
No, I'm with you, actually, secretly. I don't think that's a great movie.
Well, that was the main basis of me and Stephanie's conversation, which was I'm not a Ghostbuster person. I don't like Scrooged.
I like Ghostbusters. It's just not like a classic to me. It's like a good movie.
Same way.
I'm gonna try to come up with the right movie for this. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like a good movie, but like, meh.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's cool.
I mean, if it's
a lot
on,
of people like it. A lot of people like it.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Yeah, if it's on TV, I might watch it. There's some really good parts to those movies, but overwhelmingly, whatever. So anyway, Caddyshack.
Caddyshack is the one role I said I like him in, but I think it's because he's opposite somebody fantastic.
What about the fact that Bill Murray is just genuinely one of the funniest people? Like how he just shows up to things. Like you have to see these videos. He shows up to bachelor parties.
He's
like
hilarious.
Yes, he's.
in movies like Scrooged.
I didn't see Scrooged.
It's terrible. Groundhog Day.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan
wait,
of.
wait.
Yep.
No. Groundhog Day is amazing.
No, it's really not.
It certainly is.
It gets really old really quickly.
What do you think? It's repetitive?
Well, I know it's repetitive.
Dude, Groundhog Day's great.
No,
It's like the ultimate. By the way, Groundhog Day is secretly the most depressing movie ever. This
no,
isn't
it's
good.
not a secret. It depresses me.
Fuck, I walked right into that. It's such a bummer. Hold on, I'm gonna look this up. There's a counter online. Let's see. How many days did Bill Murray, and then it should just pop up. It tells you how many days he was alive in Groundhog Day, because like they worked it out. So like they did math on how long would it take somebody to become a master ice sculptor. How long would it take someone to become a master piano player in order to do all the different things that he does by the end of it? And I want to see if I can find the number. But it's in the thousands. Okay, here we go. How long was Bill Murray stuck in Groundhog Day? It's like a ridiculous number. After all that math, he even accounts for the extra day in leap years, though would leap years really matter if he's stuck in a world that never fully orbits the sun? What's the final count? A whopping 12,403 repeated days, which is just somewhere shy of 34 years.
Yeah.
This dude was stuck living one day for 34 years. It's a bummer, but it's a really good movie. You're gonna.
I think there's really good parts of. I think in most Bill Murray movies,
Yeah.
there are really good parts, and then there's the rest of the movie.
Yeah, but in most movies Bill Murray's in, he is the really good parts. You know what I mean? I don't know. We don't have to talk about Bill Murray a lot. Zombieland.
Yeah, no,
Zombieland.
I will give him Zombieland. That was great.
Yeah, phenomenal in Zombieland. He's and there's a bunch of classic movies like Stripes that we're not mentioning, but that's just because Danny and I haven't seen them.
I have seen Stripes.
What are your thoughts on Stripes? Because supposedly it's a great movie.
I've watched it once, and I don't really remember it all that well.
Okay. Anyway, he did. What was the bad movie? And he made fun of it in Zombieland. Do you have any regrets? And he said something. He had one regret.
Oh.
It was an animal movie. I can't remember. What movie was he in?
Was he in the modern day Smurfs movie? Was it something about that?
No. Oh, that's gonna kill me. I'm gonna look it up on IMDb after we're done with this. But, it's gonna kill me. Anyway, so your Ravens are in possession now of 4 of the top 78 picks in the draft.
Yes.
Not bad, but you traded away your defensive tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I knew
Timmy Jernigan, by the way, in case you guys don't know who we're talking about.
I knew a move like this was coming when they signed Brandon
Garfield.
Williams.
Garfield.
Okay.
Garfield. Have any regrets? Yeah, Garfield maybe. Sorry, go ahead.
I knew a move like this was coming when they signed Brandon Williams to that contract.
Yeah.
They couldn't keep like 3 on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really sad to see Timmy Jernigan go. I think he had a lot of promise.
Sure.
But, I mean, trading away a player for 25 spots in the 3rd round doesn't really excite me.
Yeah.
Because that's really all that happened.
But when you have Ozzie Newsome as your GM, 25 spots can make a huge difference with what he can get.
True.
It's a big, and draft picks are so much more valuable. They're so much more valuable, I think, that like I saw that trade and it didn't really make a lot of sense for a second, and then I was like, it's another pick. They have guys that are going to start in the defensive line. Jernigan's a good player. He's not a great player. He's okay. Now you have a chance to go get, you look at guys that get, Richard Sherman was a 4th round pick. Like there's guys everywhere in the draft now. So I think they'll be fine. And if you look at some of the players that are projected 3rd round players, like the lower end running backs and stuff like that, there's players there.
If they made this move, I want them to go after a wide receiver. I think they're going to be afraid to after Perriman hasn't.
Well, he started to look good though.
He is.
He started to look good. That's a guy that. Who are your receivers going into next year right now? Who's your top 3?
Perriman, Wallace, Aiken's a free agent, and he went somewhere else.
Yeah.
And.
Okay, you need a receiver.
Yeah.
You need 2.
I've never had a problem naming the Ravens wide receivers before.
I bet I can name the Giants wide receivers. They're doing their Duke weekend now.
Oh, are they?
Yep. Eli, Marshall, Shepard, King, and Roger Lewis are all going down to Duke. Beckham was at the national championship and now has mouth surgery. It's a whole complicated thing.
Nothing with Odell Beckham Jr.
Nothing with Odell could be complicated. All right, so yeah, we had to talk Bill Murray for a minute.
Yeah.
And the Ravens. Baseball's back. Are you at all excited about the Red Sox?
I don't care.
You're not going to pay any attention?
Nope.
All right. Let's go down. Hockey playoffs. Teams are down into their last 2 to 3 regular season games. Can I get you to watch a little hockey playoffs for me?
Is my team playing? My quote-unquote
Nashville?
my team?
Yes, Nashville is your team. And Nashville, I believe Nashville is a playoff team.
All right, then yeah, sure, I'll watch a game.
There you go. And lastly, I made a promise weeks ago, and I completely failed on this promise, which was to watch wrestling after we had Josh on.
Oh, yeah.
I tried. However, WrestleMania was this past weekend.
Yep.
I looked up the results.
Yep.
And I'm going to try to get a hold of Josh and see if we can get him on next week. But in the meantime, do you have thoughts about WrestleMania?
I think they were 3 years too late on the ending of it, which was
Taker Reigns.
Yeah. I called that in one of my 4 tweets ever years ago.
One of your tweets.
One of my 4 or 5 tweets ever. I said that Reigns should have faced Taker at the end of the Shield.
And there's a moment happening in the studio right now where Roxy the dog just realized that Danny, one of her favorite humans, is here. so Danny's a tiny bit distracted.
But
yep, there she is, shaking.
I think I'm really excited to hear Josh's opinion on what they did in the Raw after Mania, which is your favorite Raw of the year.
That is true. I have that DVR'd. I'll check that out because that's always the best crowd.
The first 15 minutes of it is Reigns standing in the ring, and they just let the crowd go wild.
Oh, really?
And chanting whatever they want.
That's awesome.
Which they rarely do. They always try to control that crowd, but that crowd is impossible to tame.
I was on Twitter last night and I was going through, and one of the hockey writers that I follow, I can't remember who it was tweeting about Raw, and he goes, they just sang Vince's entrance music, the whole song, I love this crowd. It sounds so fun. 18,000 people singing that stupid No Chance song sounds great to me.
The crowd was great. There was Beach Ball Mania that they started chanting all night.
Oh, really?
Which just a beach ball going around the stands.
That's awesome. Yeah, the post Raw is good. And last topic, and it led the show. I haven't recorded the beginning of the show, but it will lead the show with Tony Romo retiring, taking Phil Simms' job, much at the anger of your mother, who is a Phil Simms fan.
Phil Simms and the forehead.
Actually, I should rephrase that. She's the Phil Simms fan, right?
Apparently, there weren't any in CBS.
So Tony Romo, and here's the only question I have because somebody pointed this out on Twitter. As you know, being a football fan, when broadcast crews go to games, they meet with the teams before.
Yep.
CBS has Dallas's Thanksgiving Day game this year.
Oh, that's good.
So lovely. CBS's #1 broadcasting duo of Jim Nantz and Tony Romo will be in production meetings with Dak Prescott and Jason Garrett on the Friday.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think he has a bad relationship with the team.
No. Actually, all the stuff that's come out in the last couple of days is that the relationship was great. That they held on to him. They didn't release him because he asked them not to, because he wanted to figure out what he had to do. And they didn't want him to deal with anybody else until he figured out what he was doing, and he had worked the CBS angle, which clearly which clearly he worked. So yeah, no, I don't know. It's interesting. And he put up a picture on Twitter, and he had a beard like scruff. And Dan Hanzus from NFL.com put on Twitter that there's going to be a broadcaster beef for the 5 o'clock shadow between Buck and Aikman and Romo. A big war is going to brood now between these two.
Oh boy.
So, all right. Well, I think we defended Bill Murray. I think you're a Bill Murray fan. You're whatever. I mean, Bill Murray's not. I don't think he's anybody's favorite actor. So you're not. But that's the thing. Everybody is somebody's favorite actor. I don't know if Bill Murray is, because he's just Bill Murray.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were on the Chive 10 years ago when it was a thing, you were a Bill Murray fan.
The Chive. Oh, the Chive. I have a couple Chive t-shirts somewhere. Somewhere one of them has Bill Murray's face on it,
Bill Murray's the only reason I remembered the Chive was a thing.
It's still around, too. All right, Dan Calhoun. Good appearance.
Oh, yeah. Fun.
Later.
Calhoun Show.
All right. Big thank you to my brother and my sister for joining the podcast this week. I think we acquitted Danny of any really wrongdoing with the Bill Murray thing, but it's something that I'm definitely going to keep an eye on moving forward. It's a concern, but it's one that I think we quelled a little bit. So so that's the podcast for this week. If you're new, if you enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. You can find us on YouTube as well with all the full episodes up there. Facebook, Twitter, email, voicemail, all of those things are in the description below on the podcast Facebook page. Anywhere you find this podcast, you can find all of those links. And so we will talk to you guys next week. Enjoy what will be a really fun week of sports with baseball back and with the push to the playoffs in the NHL and the NBA. So you guys have a great week. Enjoy the weather. It's starting to finally get nice up here in Connecticut. I've been enjoying some nice hiking weather here the last week or two. So been pretty good. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you later.
Thank you for listening to The Calhoun Show. Join the conversation by following the show on Twitter @Calhoun Show and emailing the show at calhounshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe and download for free on iTunes. Want to hear yourself on the show? Leave us a voicemail by calling 860-740-2119.